is there, edge of the penalty area, drives it in! That is a wonderful goal from Leeds United. Dancing into the box, onto that right foot. Oh, he's done it! How about that? Into James, James is through, Dan James! Penalty area, still going, cuts in by Somerville!
Novak getting the decisive final touch for Peter Clark's shot for his 7th goal of the season.
Oh, it's a superb hit! Pick somebody out. It stinks! It's 3-2 Huddersfield Town!
From Woods.
This is Ward! What a finish! What an emphatic hit that is! And there's Wood! And there's the Leeds response! Huddersfield standing bewildered, looking for a flag! Boyd. Oh, where's he going to drop? Heffel is in there! Well, Wagner going to join his players in jubilation. Is that the moment which gives Huddersfield a derby victory to savour?
Welcome to the West Yorkshire Football Show. I'm your host, Stephen Downs, and tonight it's a Huddersfield Town v Leeds United special. We've got some very special guests on tonight. We've got our usual Leeds United correspondent, Stephen Brown. All right, mate?
Yeah, good, mate. How are you?
We've got Jason Booker.
Very good, mate.
Excited, I can tell. Callum Scott for Huddersfield Town.
Evening.
Oh, my God, it gets more depressing than Zach Wood.
Steve, you all right, mate?
Yeah, that's it. I end on the high voice. So we're going to have a lively discussion, I think, tonight. Me being the host, I'm going to be neutral. So obviously not, yes, I put my Town shirt on, but I am completely neutral tonight.
Super neutral.
And so is it going to be a heffing nightmare or a heffing dream for Huddersfield Town on Saturday? Two interesting press conferences this afternoon. Town's manager, Andre Breinheiter, it's his first taste of a West Yorkshire derby. But for Daniel Farker, he's tasted it a few times before. We'll go first to you, Brownie. Obviously, you played a massive game last night against Chelsea.
Yeah.
And it didn't end in the best of manners, but it was a very, very good performance. I know you've done a review of that game. How are you feeling going into this weekend, having come off the back of that game against Chelsea?
Yeah, really good. It was a positive performance. Result-wise, a little bit disappointing, but to be honest, I mean, me and Jay spoke about it last night. Glad, actually, that it didn't go into the extra time, because I think there's a few players out there that would have been really punished. Ampadu, Joe Rodon. I think if those guys had had to do an extra 30 minutes, it would have been a bit torturous for them. So it was good that it got done in the 90, albeit, it would have been a good opportunity to advance. It would have been Leicester at home again. But to be honest, the priority is the league. I was concerned that, playing so many games in such a short space, and obviously now we've got the 12:30 kickoff against your boys as well. That turnaround does concern me a little bit. I think Daniel Farker is just constantly doing press conferences every couple of days at the minute. It's just a crazy schedule. I think after the Huddersfield game, we've then got Stoke Tuesday night, followed by Sheffield Wednesday away on the Friday. So it's a schedule that there's no let up at the minute. But I think the performance last night stands us in good stead, really. There was a few players that got rested, a few players came into it and impressed, like Jadon Anthony. So, yeah, we're in good shape, actually, even if the schedule's putting us under pressure a little bit.
Yeah, Jay, you spoke about. I've watched Daniel Farke's press conference. In fact, it's the only time I'll ever watch a Daniel Farke press conference. And he came into it and he said, there was a lot of science spoken about the 12:30 kickoff. Obviously, you play quite a few 12:30 kickoffs, but this one's a little bit different with the intensity around it and coming off the back of the game that you have. Have you got any concerns about, in terms of it being an early kickoff? I mean, there's the injury concerns don't seem to be as bad as what I think Leeds fans first feared, to be fair.
Bloody Leeds United TV back, innit, with Sky and all the movements and changes and whatnot. But truthfully, I've not got a massive problem with the 12:30 kickoff specifically. Daniel Farke made quite a big thing of it, having to change the sleeping patterns, and they're going to be up X amount of hours before kickoff. I personally don't imagine that it'll be that much of a hindrance, really. I think the run of games will probably affect us more come Friday night against Sheffield Wednesday. We got Chelsea, obviously the game last night, then Saturday, then Tuesday. Come Wednesday, Thursday, you would imagine that some of their legs may then be feeling it going into Friday's game. But everything we've heard from Daniel Farke, and I said this on the review last night, is that the players just want to play games. They want to play games, and the facts are is you play on a Saturday, you're back in training on the Monday, you're training constantly, then ready for the next game. This is replacing training in many ways. There'll be recuperation and rest days in between. I'd rather keep the momentum going. And, with 9 straight league wins, I don't think they've got anything to really hold them back. So the only problem that we could have is the injuries. If Gio isn't available for Saturday as an example, and I think being missing yesterday played a massive part in us not progressing. I think, and I said this the same to Brownie yesterday, I think with Gio in the team yesterday, I think we'd probably go on to win the game. I don't think there was much in the game. If anything, I think we were actually the better team second half, and we were just missing that little creative spark to create that one killer moment, and I think Gio would have created it. If he's missing come Saturday, I think the game becomes significantly more winnable for you guys. So it's going to be telling. I don't think there's anybody apart from Joe Rodon who's got no injury concerns that is as effective and as important to Leeds United as Gio Rutter is. So
right.
Yeah.
Callum, sounds like a load of excuses from Farke, doesn't it? The 12:30 kickoff and
Neutral.
No, I am. I'm just asking Callum a question. Is
Not a
Daniel
new stated question. I'm calling it out.
Jay, shut up. Is Daniel Farke making a load of excuses before going into this fixture?
I mean, I can only glean from what he said that the man's quivering with fear at Andre Brighton, right? There's fabulous Terriers. But no, I think it all plays into the sort of build up to these sort of games that you're going to get things like that, and managers saying these sorts of things, and I think, to be fair, Andre himself has sort of added to that today by saying in his press conference, "Oh, I remember when I played a Daniel Farke team." Admittedly, yeah, he admitted the fact that team lost 7-2, but he also said that I've got good experience of certain Leeds players, so. We don't know at this point in time what he knows, what he's telling the squad, what his insights will be. So that, I think, changes the dynamic a little bit of what on paper looks, Leeds high flying at the minute, Town a little coming out of a really difficult period. Hopefully, we're not sure. We're still only one game into this new manager's era, but on paper you'd say, right, well, that looks like an almost impossible fixture. But with these little things that are coming out in the lead up, they just add to the sort of jeopardy of the day.
Zach, how did you find the two? Well, Andre's press conference. I don't know if you've seen any of Farke's, but what's your initial thoughts going into Saturday's match?
I mean, obviously, even most blue and white tinted glasses, I think we can all agree that we're massive underdogs, right? And and it is what it is. That on paper we lose this game 3-4-0, but that's not always how football turns out. I think I'm disappointed to hear that we've probably got 6 or 7 injuries. Obviously, 3 of the back 4 that I'd start as our back 4 are out. Spencer come down with an illness. Hellick doesn't look like he's going to be ready, and Balker's a couple of weeks away. So that's a big hit, because I thought we scraped through Watford with a makeshift back 4. I was hoping that we'd come into then this game with a few players back from injury. I mean, going back to Ellen Road, mate, when we saw Edwards up against Somerville, it was just, men against boys. So I was hoping that we'd be at least field our strongest back 4, and then stay in the game till half time, and hopefully then come out second half and try and put them under the cosh a little bit. But yeah, I mean, like Brighton right said, it's a one-off game. It's a game of football that anyone can win, but I just think we've just got to stay in the game till half time, mate, to be honest with you. Because I was back on the bus by the 50th minute, so I was like, I wouldn't mind being in the game till half time, and then, like I said, try to put them under a bit of pressure second half.
I don't know if Hellick's that far away, is he? I took it as that he was 50, 74, sort of like 75% ready to go into Saturday, unless your sources of information have told you different.
No, mate, I just think Brighton Wright likes to pick fully fit players. If you look everywhere he's gone, he's always brought bedded players back in from injury rather than just chucking them back in the starting lineup. So I'd be surprised if I see Hellick start on Saturday. Good news, obviously, Thomas coming back as well. It's an outlet. If we are under the cosh a little bit and two banks of 4 behind the ball, then at least we've got an outlet. I'd like to see him up next to Danny Ward or Bojan, if Bojan's back, just so we've got something going forward. So I think when we think back to the game at Ellen Road, the way we set up was like a back 5, and then we were just hoofing the ball and hoping that it would drop to Bergzorg and then try feed on the scrap. So yeah, I don't know, mate. I mean, obviously, as I said, I don't want to sound negative because we're in a nice patch of form, but if I'm being a realist, I'm expecting to get nothing out of the game, and anything more than that is a bonus.
Yeah, Steve, obviously, going into this game, you lads have your sort of opinions on it. I know Jay absolutely hates the fixture with a passion, but is there any part of you that is a little bit nervous for Saturday? Because you are unbeaten in 9. It's a club record, 10th win if you can get it, and it's been quite. I think it would mean, whether Jay agrees or not, and whether you agree, it probably would mean a bit of a deal more than if you just got it over Stoke.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know what you mean. I think I am a little bit worried about it being a bit of a banana skin. I'm not going to lie, with the build-up of games we've had. If Gio is out as well, that's going to have a massive impact. So yeah, I am a little bit edgy about it, to be honest. I don't think it's going to be as straightforward as maybe some fans are thinking. I think earlier in the season we looked at this period of games and thought, it's quite favourable actually, because we're playing teams in the bottom half or the bottom quarter of the league. But actually, I think a few of you are showing a lot of fight at the minute. Sheffield Wednesday as well. You're picking up wins, a bit of confidence grows. I think this new manager you've got, Andre, I think he's the right personality from everything I've seen. He actually reminds me of Farker a little bit. He's got that kind of German confidence that they've got. And I think he's probably a really smart appointment, actually. So I am a little bit.
He did call them small today, though.
Did he? Oh.
Who did he call small?
He called Town small, didn't he? He said that you're the
David
and we're
Goliath,
the Goliath.
wasn't it? Yeah.
I did wonder how Town fans kind of took that, because it was kind of like you were making him out to be.
I mean, we're 4-1 at home, mate, so it would suggest that he's right.
In terms of the perspective of the game.
Yeah, do you know that he's talking about the fixture, right? Not the clubs.
Yeah. No, I get that.
Yeah, I did see the David and Goliath thing. I did see. Yeah, I did see that.
Is that not a bit cringeworthy, Callum? A bit like what Leeds fans were fishing on Kevin's tweet the other day. Is it a bit cringy, that?
I mean, I look at things like that, and if a town manager had said that, I'd be lapping it up. It'd be everywhere. I'd be reposting it everywhere. It'd be so. People can say what they want, but like Zach said, it's a game of football, and we don't know what's going to happen. I will say that I'm extremely nervous about the game, and up until about whenever the lineups come out, I will be looking with great interest at not only our lineup but who Leeds play, considering the build-up of fixtures that they've got, and that will play into whether I feel slightly more confident or not.
Jay, obviously, one of the big factors for Leeds that I don't think any side really can handle in this division, even, like Leicester City, really, properly, is the amount of pace that you have in your team. Rutter, Daniel James, particularly, Somerville, Nonto, they're all very quick players. I mean, surely that's something going into this game that if you're Daniel Farker, that you've got to play massively on, haven't you? That, the fact that you have absolute speedsters in your team that can just break and get up the pitch within 5 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, on the transition, whenever we've been allowed to do it this season, we've absolutely put teams to the sword, to be fair. I think any team that's come out and tried to play against us, I think Swansea, as an example, away, they pressed up on us and we absolutely destroyed them, especially once we got in front, the opportunity to then counter with them 4 up front. It's pretty devastating, pretty effective. And, at the end of the day, given the gap, we can talk about parachute payments and the teams that we come down with and all the rest of it. Leicester, Southampton and Leeds have got so much more at their disposal. They've got so much more firepower. They've got so much more quality that we should be able to beat most of the teams in and around the bottom half. But as Zach said, the facts are, game of football is not won on paper. And anything, especially in a one-off game, can happen. I mean, for me, I know we joke about it. Saturday's game for me is very much about just making sure that we pick up another 3 points. The extra incentive with regards to the derby and whatnot, I do believe, and you'll scoff at it, but I think it means more to you than it does to us. I think that how wounded we would be with potentially losing this game at this stage of the season comes more down to the fact of we've dropped points against a team that's towards the bottom 6, 7. I'd exactly the same going into the home game against Stoke. If we drop points against Stoke on Tuesday, I'll be just as devastated as if we drop points on Saturday. Because at this stage of the season, with 12 games to go, we can't afford a drop of points. If we're going to finish in them top 2, look at the position that them top 4 find themselves in at the moment. 2 of them teams are going to miss out on promotion or have to go through the playoffs. 1 is definitely going to miss out. Given the level of points total that we're at the moment, you just have to keep on winning every single game. So for me, but I do think there's a big banana skin. But coming back to your original point, Steve, we definitely have the players to cause damage and hurt you on the day. And I think if Town come out and try and press, which I think they will for the first 15, 20 minutes, I think they're going to go at us. If we are clinical and at it and ready, we should hurt you quite a lot early on.
Yeah. Zach, is that a fair comment from Jay that it means more to Huddersfield Town fans than it does Leeds United fans? Is it? Is there a bit of that? Do you disagree?
It is what it is, isn't it? I mean, I don't know. I mean, obviously, if you look back at probably the last 7, 8 seasons, or even back to League One days, it was always the biggest attendance of the season at Ellen Road as well. So it is what it is. But he's absolutely right in what he says. For us, it's about getting a result, whether it be a point or 3, getting it on the board, mate, and trying to make a gap between us and the bottom 3. It means a little bit more in terms of there's a little bit more spice to it. But just going back to Jason's point about in the transition, I think he's absolutely spot on. It killed us at Ellen Road. Like, I remember we had a throw in level with the edge of their box, and I think within 10 seconds the ball was in the back of our net. I think give the ball away. There was a ball over the full back, and he's cut inside and slotted it home. But it's a fine balance for us because obviously we're kind of riding this wave at the minute, Jace, of we're coming into a bit of a golden patch for us. I know it's not much, 3 wins in 5, but given the season we've had, it definitely is. I think we would have been able to pressure higher and gamble a little bit more had Bolker have been fit. You may not see much of him, but he's absolutely light in centre back, and it would have meant then we could have left him maybe him and Hellick back and pushed the fullbacks higher. But with Bolker not making the starting 11, definitely, and probably not even going to be in the squad. The loss of Spencer's speed as well, Steve, is going to be a challenge because he's been good for us since coming back from Motherwell as well. So you're absolutely right, mate. We've got to try and just stay. That's what I was saying about staying in the game early doors. If we can, and just frustrate you more than anything, and then try and slowly start to build ourselves in the second half.
The things that you're saying there, Zach, are exactly why I think me and Brownie have got a bit of trepidation about this game, because we see the fact that you're on a bit of a turn of form. I think that started under Worthington. You saw a change in the way that things were happening. And then that's built into, the new manager bounce, I think, is a real thing. And, you have that first game, you see a change in the result, but also change in the performance. That there was differences. I think Danny Ward being fit's massive too. At this level, I think for what you're trying to get, the problem with Ward, it's always been the same. He's always had injury problems. He has a habit of scoring against Leeds. He's a local lad. He's from Bradford, and he knows what it means. I grew up with him. I went to school with Danny Ward, so I know exactly what he thinks of the clubs. So I think
what does he think then? What does he think?
Well,
what does he think? You've got that insight. To be fair to you, what without giving too much away, what does he think?
Danny were a big Bradford fan growing up, but he was one of these that wasn't madly in love with supporting football clubs, if that makes sense. He just loved to play. He just absolutely loved to play. And I think he was kind of, from what I know anyway, he didn't think much of the setup at Leeds, and he went off to Bolton. And then obviously he's always had a bit of an affiliation with Town. Several, 2 spells, is it there, or 3 spells?
Well, including loan spells, 3 actually.
3 spells, including the loan. And I think at a time where he probably needed to find a home again, Town took him in after the spell at Cardiff, and I think whenever he's been able to be fit, he's been of real use to Town. I think he's a good player. He's a really, really good player for me. I really like what he brings, just fitness issues. I would expect him to play a big part on Saturday.
Callum, he made a massive impact away at Watford, obviously, in Andre's first game. Scored 2 vital goals. I mean, the second finish is really clever, but the first finish is typical Danny, really, getting in the box and heading it in. And, he did make a huge difference to our team on last Saturday.
Yeah, and I think it's one of them where he's been absent from the squad for so long that I think a lot of Town fans had realised maybe, that is what Danny Ward can do. If you give him the ball, in this division, he can score those sorts of goals. And it was a reminder of the threat that we've got there, where I think a lot of Town fans had thought, right, well, that's Danny Ward. He'll sit there, but we won't do anything with him. He's not worth slinging on because we're not going to get anything out of him. So, it's another option now, I think, and people have a lot more confidence in him, especially given his record in scoring in these sorts of games and his performance against Watford. I think people would have a lot more confidence in putting him in now than they would have done maybe a month or 2 ago.
Yeah, he loves scoring at Vicarage Road particularly. Thanks very much for everybody getting in touch. I think we've got some great comments coming in, haven't we, Steve?
Yeah, lots of stuff coming in. Quite a good cross-section of opinions out there as well. Interesting one for us, though, Jason. Southampton versus Leicester game off now because Leicester are playing Chelsea. So it's going to be interesting when they squeeze that one in, to be fair.
That'll be some spicy game if it's pushed even further towards the back end of the season, which I would imagine it probably would be, maybe even into April. I don't know when they're going to find room for that. So, yeah, going to be interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. One here as well, I've noticed from...
Sorry, so it's got to suit you guys, hasn't it, Brownie, with Leicester getting through the next round as well? I think that was probably a good result for you, what?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it was Leicester one of them things you're thinking, I fancy that, because obviously a draw happened before the match, so we knew we'd be playing Leicester at home. You thought, we fancy that. But then actually it was it's like an emotional drain playing Leicester at the moment. It takes so much out of you. I'm glad we're avoiding it, really, in a way, as much as I would have obviously loved to have gone through. And I think it'll be tough for them as well.
I think the 2 performances, and this isn't bigging us up or bigging Leicester up too much, but I think the 2 performances against Bournemouth and Chelsea have shown where the Leeds and the Leicester side are in the bigger picture. I said yesterday, I think this Leeds team would probably finish 15th or 16th in the Premier League as it is right now, given how weak I think the bottom 3 are. And I think the same probably goes for Leicester. They go to Bournemouth and win 1-0. So yeah, I think it shows the strength of the top of the Championship right now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, one here from Skip as well, and I kind of agree with this. He says, personally, I think we'll drop. That's Leeds. We'll drop points in our next 4 games. And yeah, that's my concern. I think we're not going to win 12
can't
more
go
games
forever,
straight.
can
We're gonna watch it. We're gonna lose it somewhere, I think, but hopefully not against you lot.
It can't go. It can't go on forever. Like we've won 9 straight games. No matter the quality difference, that has to end somewhere. And every win you get, I think that drop of points comes a little bit closer. And we have got some potential banana skins. I think Millwall's a different kettle of fish now that they've got Harris back in there. I think Huddersfield and Sheffield Wednesday both bring their own trepidations to the games because of the derbies, because of the away, the away playing away from home. I think Stoke on Tuesday night should be a formality, really. I would imagine that could end up being Schumacher's last game.
Yeah,
I tell you what, though, Jace. Like, as much as I want the wheels to fall off for you guys, I kind of need you to win them 3 after us.
Yeah,
I mean, seriously. Yeah. I mean, they're all teams in and around us. I didn't realize the next 4 were so. We're obviously teams in the bottom 6.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, we've got a good run between now and the end of the season, really, haven't we, Brownie? With the exception of Southampton on the last day and Hull at home and Coventry away. I think every other game's bottom half. I'm almost certain it is.
Yeah. Basically, it's favourable, isn't it? You would have taken that, wouldn't you? Certainly earlier in the season. So yeah, no complaints with that. One here from Lewis as well. Glad you're watching, mate. Mr. Bradford Park Avenue himself. Do Callum and Zach think this could be a really good indicator as how Brighton Writer sets up his team for future games and how astute he will be tactically in big moments? If one of you guys want to pick that up.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say yes if we had a fully fit squad, and I know obviously that's a dream world for every team. But the fact we've got such a big dent in our back 4, it's going to be hard for him to probably play right now the type of football he wants to. And I think he's had probably 4 days on the training pitch this week, and he had 2 before Watford. So realistically, to judge him on 6 days to get his ideas across is going to be difficult. Really, I just want to see us. I just want to see a game plan. I mean, under Worth, it was crystal clear what we were setting up to do, how we were going to start the game, and what the game plan was. On Saturday, again against Watford, we could have been 3 or 4-0 up inside the first 20. And again, there was a clear game plan, and every single sub he made was affecting the game. So as long as we're seeing decisions in games made that are going to affect the game in a positive manner, I think that's all we can ask for probably between now and the end of the season. Just back to your lads' points really about how many games we've got. It's really hard for managers to actually get on the training pitch and implement a style. So as you said, Jace, it's more just game to game and just trying to get results out of the games we've got with the lads that we've got. I don't know about you, Cal, but I think I'd probably see I'd expect more of a change maybe at the next international break in March.
Yeah, definitely. I think quite a lot of what we've been saying is that we know how good Leeds are on the transition and on the break, and with our what you might call sticking plaster back four that we're going to have to go with because of the situation that we find ourselves in. I do think we're going to see quite a lot of what we saw at Watford, which was we were pressing after the ball, but maybe not quite as relentlessly as what he would do had he had a full squad to choose from. I think quite a lot of the tactics and the thinking will be, how can we press the ball and put the least amount of pressure on that back 4? Because the less that they're exposed, the less mistakes you're going to see from a back 4 that isn't used to playing in this sort of game together and that isn't as experienced as what it could be. The absolute pressure that every player will be feeling on the Leeds side and the Town side will be showcased in that back 4 should they get exposed.
I just jumping into that, Steve, just before you say on the Huddersfield side, I think a big part of what will make the difference there is who they're up against. Because if Pat's fully fit, I think it's a very different game to if he goes with Matteo Joseph or Yol Perot. Because Pat, the way that he kind of operates within this system for Leeds and the way that he pulls defenders around, leaving then gaps open for the likes of Somerville, James and Rutter in behind him is huge. Whereas we've seen, and Brownie, with his agenda on Yol Perot, I'll tell you, it doesn't work. It doesn't work quite the same. No. When Perot's in there, he's just not that kind. It doesn't fit the system. I think if you see Pat start the game, and we can all have his opinions on Bamford, but he makes the team tick. He does, and I think if Pat starts, I think you'll struggle in them moments. because he will put you under the pressure you're talking about.
I was going to say, are Leeds fans pro Patrick Bamford now? Are you all wanting him out still?
It's one back. It's one of them redemption stories. So he missed 2 critical penalties last season in the relegation year. He got a penalty this season, missed it, and everyone thought, right, that's end of the line. That's it. Bamford's done. Yeah. To be honest to him, to be fair, he'd probably not been properly fit in 2 years, and then he's come back, and literally since he scored that absolute worldie in the FA Cup, it's just switched for him. And like Jay says, he makes a huge difference to how we set up. Even though, Joe Perreault was meant to be, the kind of star signing, £10 million, proven goal scorer in this league, he doesn't work tactically like Bamford does, which is remarkable considering, how long we've had Bamford for and all the issues. But actually, Leeds in the Championship still needs Bamford. He's back. He's back in favour, to be honest.
You know what it is? It's there's a big gap between what fans think they need to see and what they actually need to see. And the facts are, and we said this under Bielsa, we were a better Leeds United team when Patrick Bamford was in the team not scoring than when Eddie Nketiah was in the team scoring, as an example. Whoever. It made the team work. And, Bamford over the last 2 seasons has been predominantly injured, and we've missed him. We've missed him. Whatever guys we try and kind of put out there, whether it be Jesse Marsh, Bielsa, Avi Gracia, whoever, we missed him. And fans are now only starting to fully appreciate what he does other than scoring goals, because we're now seeing it in another format of Leeds United where we've still not been able to properly replace him. And that's the long and short of it. Football fans are very, very fickle. When they're watching a game of football, they see ball move from defender into goal scored, and they don't care about how it gets there or what happens in and around everything else within the game. And that's what Bamford does so well. I was watching some clips the other day of him just moving defenders around. Yeah. And when it comes to a striker having a strike on goal, I don't ideally want Bamford to be taking that. I would want Somerville to be having it. I'd want Perreault over everybody else. But everything else from the centre forwards play, I want Bamford to do.
Well, the only thing I would argue with that is you're saying, and I agree, Zach, that in terms of the injuries, I would love Bolker to be in that team, because against Sunderland, I think we saw a glimpse of what he has in store, the pace that he has, the ability that he has on the ball. He's probably, or will be when he's fully fit, our best centre back by probably quite a bit. We've got Hellick in, and I agree with what you said the other week. Can't wait to see Hellick and Bolker in the same pairing. Yeah, I don't know whether you agree with this, but I think on Saturday what we'll probably see is Nakayama at left back, Leeds, and hopefully Hellick, but maybe not in centre back. And Pearson obviously in the fullback position. I just think that unfortunately that doesn't suit Pearson to be in that position against probably Somerville, and that's the area that worries me on Saturday. Pearson's not a fast centre back, but he knows how to positionally play, and that's the area that worries me with Leeds' pace, because without Bolker at the back, we don't have any pace really.
No, mate, and so what I would say about that is I completely agree with everything you've said. However, going back to, I think, Jason's point about Bamford, so obviously he drops into that gap and then he leaves space in behind the fullbacks. If we are playing Nakayama, Hellick, Lees and Pearson at right back, it'll be a very narrow back four.
It will be.
Which I think weirdly might suit us. And that sounds strange, because as fullbacks won't be, they won't be overlapping the wingers. They'll be sitting back, and it'll make us a little bit more compact off the ball, which, to be honest, I think might suit us weirdly. And now I'm just kind of reversing what I've said about obviously missing Bolker, but it'll allow us to keep men behind the ball, but then obviously grow into the game a little bit. Whereas I think if we start with our preferred back four, everyone's preferred back four probably picks itself, doesn't it? I think if we're being completely honest, Headley, Spencer, Bolker, and Hellick, right, in a fully fit side. But your fullbacks then are over the halfway line, and Jay said hit the nail on the head. The transition will kill us if we don't get it right. So obviously we're going to miss Bolker, but I think if we can stay compact, mate, and just keep them four behind the ball for as long as we can, then we've got a chance.
There's an
I mean,
outside...
Callum, I don't. The other thing that I don't know whether he'll do is maybe play a back five. Obviously, at Watford, he didn't do that because I think we thought we could get at Watford quite easily, particularly in the midfield. And I think the midfield battle on Saturday is going to be so important. Who would you particularly play midfield? Because I think Ben Wiles has had a superb couple of weeks. I know Zach's a big sort of fan of his as well, and he's sort of growing on me a little bit. We talked about the importance of Johnny Hogg and maybe him taking a step back slightly in some games, but do you almost need Hogg in a game like this, Cal?
That's a difficult one, that, because I don't want to say what's about to come out of my mouth, but I think this game, and the speed at which we've discussed the transition of Leeds and what we're going to need to counter that, I just don't think Johnny Hogg's going to have it in him to be able to keep up with the amount that he's going to have to be pulled around and stick with his man in that midfield battle. So I think for me, it's Ben Wiles, because as much as Johnny Hogg gives you the experience of being able to bark instructions at players and he knows exactly what this team need to do to get ticking, Ben Wiles can execute exactly what the manager's asking for without essentially getting knackered, which I think is a problem for Johnny Hogg. So what I might be tempted to do would be to start Hogg, maybe take him off 60, 65 if the game's looking like it's on a bit of a knife edge. And then we've got Ben Wiles in there to give that midfield a little bit extra.
Yeah. Is Jay, with you and Steve, do you think Archie Gray will start in midfield on Saturday? I know he's played in various positions, particularly at fullback, across the season, but it's a big game for a 17/18-year-old to play him. We've had a number of them over the years actually playing this fixture and not done too bad really in it when you look back, but it's a big game for him to play in at the John Smiths. I think it's a different game at Ellen Road. You've got, 30,000 fans cheering you on and getting behind you, where, the John Smiths, it's never been a walkover with you. And I think it's a massive pressure game for him to play in midfield, particularly up against our certain energetic midfielders in Matos, Kasumu and Ben Wiles.
I'm guessing that you didn't watch the game last night.
I didn't watch the game. No,
mate.
I was busy.
He absolutely ran Stamford Bridge last night. He got man of the match in the losing team, playing centre midfield up against Enzo Fernandez and Moises Caicedo. And I'm not kidding you, mate. He made mincemeat of them.
No, that's fine. But can he do it on a rainy day in Huddersfield on a Saturday afternoon? That's my question.
I mean this nice. I think you would hope that from a town perspective, I would think that you would not want him in there. I think at this moment he's riding such a crest of a wave. I think he's exactly who you don't want to be in there, because I think he'll run all over you right now. I think you want him to be at right back, and you want Kamara and Gruev to be in there to stand the best chance possible for him from a town perspective.
But what do you see Farke doing?
I love Gruev and Kamara. I think it's a really tricky one. I mean, Brownie kind of reacted there. I think the selection choices for Saturday is really tough. I think there's an outside chance that we don't see Somerville start because he's been carrying a bit of an injury recently, and Jaden Anthony played really well last night. I think there's an outside chance that we see James come in on the other side, which will then give us the pace that we need. What do we do at 10 if Rutter's out? Do we start Pirro? Is Pat fully fit? Do we give Joseph another start after he just scored 2 last night? There's all sorts of questions coming in. I think Ampadu will go back into the back line. I don't know what you think on that, Brownie. I think Ampadu will go back to left centre-back over Cooper. It'll be Firpo and Rodon.
I think Gray I think Gray will play, but I think he'll be back at right back. And I think Kamara comes back into that central midfield.
I'd be tempted to agree with you. Yeah, I tend to agree with you, I think.
However, I agree totally. I mean, he was that good against Chelsea. I mean, you had Caicedo and Fernandez, £200 million worth of midfield, and Archie Gray mugged him off completely. I'd urge anyone to go watch the compilation someone's cut together on Twitter today of Archie's highlights from last night, and it's just unreal for a 17-year-old. So I think you guys might get away with it there. I think actually will be at right back, but Glenn Kamara is having an unbelievable season as well. So it's going to be tricky whoever's in there, really, to be honest.
It could
Apart
make a
from the
difference
state, apart from the state of the fixture, that obviously we know what the fixture is. Is there any part, Steve, of the potential lineup that Farker puts out, and you knowing what Town are like?
Yeah.
Is there any nervousness at all in terms of any of the matchups that come up, or are you absolutely that supremely confident that this team you just think will roll us over again?
No, I for me, I mean, like Jay said earlier, I've got an agenda against Pirro, and it can sound that way, but I think if he plays, for me, we don't press in the same way when Pirro is in the number 10. That tactically is a big issue for me. I think since Bamford got injured, there has been a little bit of a drop-off, certainly in that area of the pitch. I think we've got a lot of talent, so we've still kind of rolled teams over. We've still won games, but I feel it is a little less convincing. That is something I would worry about. I think if, Matos and, these players like this who love a tackle and getting stuck in, it could cause us a few issues. So it is something I'm concerned about. I personally, if Rutter's playing, I would love to see Matteo Joseph get a start, because I think he replicates what Bamford does. But I don't think we'll do that. I think it's one of those annoying things where I think Pirro's price tag just means that he's gonna get in there, really. I mean, he did get dropped before. Fair play to Farker, but I think he won't pick Joseph over Pirro.
I think Pat starts again.
Yeah.
I think Pat gets 60 minutes, and then we'll see how the game is then. I mean, the one thing I'll say in comparison to the game earlier on in the season was, and you're a very different Town to them, but I also think we're a very different Leeds. This Leeds now is consistent in the way that it defends, the way that it attacks. The play over 90 minutes is far more consistent. Back then we were okay for 40 minutes. We saw it even in that game. The second half we came out and we weren't the same side second half. Yeah. And you could say that we kind of sat back, but I don't think
you didn't have to be though.
We didn't have to be. The thing is though, Steve, we've seen them halves. We've seen them second halves that we saw against Town in the first game when we've only been winning 1-0, and then we've gone on to draw the game 1-0. Yeah. So we're not that same team now. So I would expect that. In the first game, we were giving up chances to you guys had chances. If you remember, Bergzog had a really good chance. I think it was only at 1-0.
At 1-0, mate. Yeah, just after you scored,
Yeah, he had a really, really big chance.
Yeah.
We've not been giving up any chances. Like, forget last night, because we're playing against Premier League opposition. We're not giving up chances. What were it, Brandon? We conceded 10 shots on goal in 13 games, I think it was.
Thought Leicester could have been 3 or 4 up though, Jace.
I think Leicester's the outlier. Leicester's the outlier. I'm
not putting you down, mate, by any stretch.
No, you're right, and you're right to point that out. But again, that were a Premier League team versus a Premier League team, arguably. And on the day, we rode us luck at times, and then we made them pay later on. But you're absolutely spot on. But on the whole, against the teams at the Championship, because I think from 9th down, I think the rest of the Championship is very similar. I don't think there's very much in it. And against them teams for 2024, we've been cruising through games. So it's on us. For me, it's on us on Saturday.
Is Bergzog, how is he worked out for you fellas this season then? Is he kind of, because every time I've seen him in limited parts, he's looked really good.
Again, that's what
I was just about to come on. Yeah, I was just about to come on to that actually. Like, Zach and Callum, how important do you think Dell being with us on Saturday and performing at his best, how much do you think that will change things maybe slightly into, us getting a result out of the match? Zach, what do you think? And then Callum, you can come in.
No, I was just saying Brownie's kind of took the words out of my mouth. It's been a bit part of Brownie just purely because of his injuries, mate. Like he gets kind of a couple of runs in the game and you think, right, this is a player that we signed, and then he gets an Achilles injury, and then he gets a reoccurrence of that, and then he's a bit tight and he can't start the Tuesday after the sack, and it's just being a little bit frustrating. But what I have seen of him has been exciting. Like, he's one of them players that if he had the final decision, he wouldn't be at Huddersfield Town. Like, if he could make that final pass, he wouldn't be at Huddersfield Town. He'd be playing much higher up. So he's frustrating, but he also gets you off your seat, and it's kind of what we've lacked a little bit. Like, we've been under Darren Moore, we were very safe. Like even Bergzog was very much like he got the ball and it was playing facing his own goal. But under sort of Worthy and now under at the weekend, he was getting the ball and he was turning, he was running at defences, and that's ultimately when he's at his best. So I'm just hoping he can stay fit and get back into a bit of a groove in the last 12 games.
Yeah, I'd build on that by saying I think now, especially if he can get that run of games, we'll see that maybe the shackles are off a bit, because under Darren Moore, I think all the players were, like you say, very safe. We get the ball on the edge of the 18-yard box and maybe they'd look for the sideways pass. Whereas Delano Bergson is one of them players that he wants the ball and he wants to drive at defences. He wants to take defenders on. And, when we've seen that work this season, the ball's ended up in the back of the net. Problem is, we've just not seen it enough. And I think that's something that if he's fully fit, we can look and go, right, we've got somebody there. If he can get the service, he can be lethal in front of goal, which is what we need, which is what we signed him for. So if he can get a consistent run of form in without these niggling little injuries, I think we've got a really good player in our hands. But like Zach says, it's that lack of final ball, it's that lack of the final finish that stops him from essentially playing higher up and is the reason why he's playing for Huddersfield Town at the minute.
How important do you think set pieces, Cal's, going to be in this game? We scored a few, obviously. Obviously our centre-backs are the top scorers for the team. Sorba Thomas hopefully will be back for the game and he'll be back on set pieces and hopefully he'll take the good ones that come off his boot. How important do you think set pieces are in this game on Saturday, particularly from our point of view?
I mean, we know that our main threat at the minute has come from set piece opportunities. It's because we've not had to play the ball through teams with a set piece. You play the ball in, it hits someone's head, it goes in the back of the net. But this is something I don't think I've actually had to consider yet. You think that Helik's out and Bolker's out, you've taken quite a lot of goals out of that team. They're defenders, but you've taken quite a lot of goals out of the team. So we're nowhere near as threatening from set pieces when Michael Helik is not on the pitch. They are still a threat and they will hopefully still be used to our advantage. I think maybe it's the one place where we can have the most advantage on the day. But it's just crazy to me to think that you can lose a centre-back through injury and you've lost quite a slice of your attacking threat. It's not a concept I think I've ever encountered before.
Yeah, that might be good for us, actually, because we do have the occasional wobble on a set piece as well. Like our keeper sometimes can be a little bit inconsistent, whether he's coming and punching or catching or flapping. So, yeah, that'll work if he's out.
With zonal mark, I noticed it yesterday. Nonto was marking Disassi. Disassi is massive. Wasn't Chalobah? It was one of them anyway. It's like huge height difference. Like Nonto's like 5'6", 5'7", and Chalobah's like 6'4".
Yeah, it was saying previous.
I hate zonal marking. I hate zonal marking. To me, it doesn't give people the responsibility. Sticking with your men, and I think it's an easy cop out when the ball comes in. So you could blame anybody for not going towards the ball. The only thing I would say is
it depends on who's attacking the ball, doesn't it? So the reason I think we use a zonal marking is because we don't have that much height and we don't have that many players that are great in the air. So the likes of Joe Rodon, Pascal Stroik, Ethan Ampadu, Pat Bamford, they're tasked with attacking a certain area of the box defensively where the ball usually will go into. So that's why we do it, I think.
Zach, don't you think that height's going to be a massive advantage in that particular sector for us on Saturday?
I mean, I think Carl nailed it with Helik. Helik being out's a big loss, but we had 13 corners against Hull. And honestly, I think if we'd had another 13, we wouldn't have scored one. We just looked so flat in corners without Helik in the box. Honestly, the focal point's gone. And even against Watford, to some extent, I think we had fought like 5 or 6 corners inside the first 30 minutes, and I genuinely didn't think we'd score one of them, and we didn't. I just think that loss of Helik in the box it makes it a lot easier to mark. And if you've got players like Patrick Bamford in the squad, for example, how many defensive headers does he win? I mean, every time I see Leeds, he's winning defensive headers.
That's true.
So I just think we've been so good in open play recently, Steve. I'm not getting ahead of myself, but we're actually like a footballing team now. Like the fact 4 or 5 weeks ago, we were just a set piece side, and if we didn't score from a set piece, well, we weren't scoring. I mean, we scored 3 against Southampton away. None of them were set pieces, I don't think. Scored 2 away at Watford. Again, I think they were from open play. The whole goal was from open play. So I think recently we've been a lot more attacking, but with the ball in play, like as a football team should be, rather than just waiting for a set piece and hoping for the best. So I think we do pose a little bit more going forward for teams to worry about of late than just being a set piece.
Yeah. We're coming into the last 5 minutes, so we'll sort of ask for people's final thoughts and maybe a prediction if we can cheekily get it out of people. Callum, what are your final thoughts going into Saturday, 12:30 p.m. at the John Smith Stadium?
It's going to be an interesting game. There's, as we've discussed, there's things going on outside of the game in the squads that are going to affect what happens on the pitch. But it's always a belter of a game. This game, especially at Town. I mean, you were discussing the second half of the game at Elland Road earlier, and I wouldn't know because I wasn't there. I saw the first half; that was horrible, so I didn't see the second half. But it's always a good game, and I am looking forward to it as sort of yardstick of the sort of way that Town are going to set up against these sorts of challenges, because we've got more challenges coming down along the track than just this weekend. So if we can set up in a way that isn't negative, we go on the front foot, I think that'll stand us in good stead. So I'm looking forward to just seeing how it plays out, to be fair.
Are you guys seeing it as a free hit? Just to kind of jump in there, are you guys seeing it like that or not? Because Steve kind of insinuated the other day that he saw it as a free hit. Like if you lose, you lose.
So I don't know if Zach and Carl, I don't know if you saw my point the other day, but my point is, it's a no. I don't think we can lose in this situation. Yeah, you can lose the physical match, but if we lose, we're expected to lose against the second team in the league, who are playing unbelievable football and haven't lost in 9 fixtures and literally played teams off the park. Leicester City, just unreal football, right? If we get a point, it's a magnificent point. If we get a win, we're in Cloud Cuckoo Land, and we didn't think that we will get 3 points against second in the league. So I don't think, apart from, yes, we can lose the game, but I don't think it's a lose-lose situation for Town on Saturday.
I'd agree with you if it was anybody else inside that top 6, but it's Leeds, and I want to win.
I know that, Cal. I know that.
I mean, I think, Jace, we've kind of got to get out of this mindset. Like, I think we went to Southampton, mate, and we scored 3 quick goals. Yeah, we conceded 5 in the second half through a makeshift defence, but anyone in this league is beatable. Yeah, I know you've won 9 in a row, mate. And
I agree with you.
You can't go into any fixture thinking it's just a lost mentality. If we go into this game already saying, look, it's a free hit, there's no free hits when there's 12 games left and we're 3 points above the drop. Like, being completely brutally honest with you.
I 100% agree with you, by the way. No, I'm on that side of it.
Yeah, whether it's Southampton, Leicester,
I wasn't saying that, Jay.
No, you said that you were all right with losing the other day. That's
I didn't. That's taken that totally out.
I'm messing. I'm joking. I'm joking.
I'm answering your question, Steve. You just said you don't think it's a lose-lose. It is a lose-lose, because if Wednesday win against Rotherham, and you've got to think about the position we're in. You cannot go into any game with 12 games left saying it's a free hit, because it's not.
I've not said a free. I've not said a free hit. What I've said is Town fans shouldn't be absolutely depressed. Yes, obviously it's Leeds, but we shouldn't go out if we get beat 2-3-0. We just have to take it and move on as quickly as we possibly can. Because to me, nobody's expecting us to be second in the division and who haven't lost for 10 games. Yeah, you can win any game in the Championship, but I I don't think it's a must. It's not like when we go and play Stoke and we've got Stoke to play, we've got Rotherham to play. We've got various other teams down there still to play. So I don't think it's as depressing as.
No, it's not season ending, mate. But you've still got to go into this fixture thinking we can get something out of it. Like, I don't care who it is, unless it's Man City or Liverpool. Then then absolutely I agree. But it's not. It's Leeds United, who are an absolutely fantastic team. I'm not sitting here saying you're not, because you are. But you're in our division for a reason, and there's a reason why you're also still there's three teams around you that
I
can
agree.
right?
I agree completely.
We've got to go with a positive mindset, mate, and set up to stay in the game for the first 45. And if we can go in half time 0-0, then we've got a chance. If we go 1-0 down inside the first 15 minutes, game's done, because they'll absolutely wait for us to press high and they'll just kill us on the counter.
Yeah.
So if you're asking for a score prediction, which I think you were, Steve.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go. My head's telling me 3-1 Leeds. My heart's telling me 1-1.
Okay, Callum.
Do I have to?
Yeah. Yeah, you do.
I'll give you a realistic and an optimistic. Optimistic's 1-0 Town. Realistic, I'm going 2-1 Leeds.
Okay, Brownie. Final thoughts and score prediction.
Yeah, I mean, I am quite a pessimistic Leeds fan, I'll be honest. I do kind of expect the worst when it comes to this club, to be honest. Part of me thinks, is this where the run ends and, Huddersfield get a draw or something like that? But I do think we'll come through it. I do think it'll be another win chalked up for Leeds. I think we'll get the 10 wins. I think could see something like a 2-0. I hope anyway, but we'll wait and see. But yeah, it's going to be tough, when I do look at the team, Huddersfield Town team. When you look at Bergzorg, Radoni, and Matos obviously coming on loan, I do think they're good players there. And like Zach says, we're in the Championship for a reason, absolutely. So who knows? But yeah, I still think Leeds will come through 2-0.
Cool, Mr. Booker. I don't think it's been as bad this show as what you were anticipating, mate.
No, because you've been hosting.
I've been a neutral host.
The lads have been diplomatic. They've been, respectful.
I can be respectful and diplomatic.
Recording stops, boys.
Yeah, I
Oh, you haven't seen our WhatsApp group, James? Honestly, terrorised it. Go on, what do you want?
I see a very similar game to the Plymouth game for us, Brownie, the away Plymouth game, in which they caused us odd problems. Set pieces were always a bit of a trouble. We could have put them to bed earlier, but didn't. The 1-0 kind of carried on, and then we scored again later on into the game and finished the game 2-0. That's how I see it going. I think Town will cause us problems, and I think it depends on the game state. Early on. One attack early on, Huddersfield score. I think the game could be an absolute nightmare for us if that's what happens. Because sometimes the more you try and force the issue, the more it doesn't come. If Gio starts the game, 2 or 3-0. If Gio doesn't start the game, I still think we win, but I think it'll be tight, 1-0, 2-0 maybe later on, something like that. That'd be my prediction. I see us going back to getting a clean sheet personally.
Can we get you to say you are going to destroy us, please?
No. I've done that once this season when we visited St Mary's on the back of them losing 4 straight.
No, come on, say it. Come on.
No, I don't
let
think
me have
we
a
will.
chance to clip you up with it.
I don't think we will, so I'm not going to say it. I'll only ever say it, from the heart, Steve. I don't think we will. I like I say, I always see this as a big banana skin for us. I just think it's a horrible fixture, especially away from home. Over the years, whether you guys have been better than us in the Championship or we've been better in the Championship, it's always a problem game. The most comfortable game in probably the last 10 years was the one this season. That aside, all the games are pretty tricky. Even I saw the clip, it made me chuckle a little bit, the Danny Ward goal at Ellen Road before we then went on to win 4-1 that day, I think it was. The Brian McDermott sacking game, wasn't it? Even that was a recipe for disaster that day, and Ross McCormack just decided to turn up and score 4. So yeah, it's always a tricky game. Even the Bielsa side that we took there, I think we won 2-1 on the day, or 2-0.
Yeah,
it was still a tricky game to come through.
Yeah,
well, it's going to be a fascinating game on Saturday. Thanks very much for everybody getting in touch. We've had some quality comments. Personally, with my heart, I'm going 2-1 Town. With my head, I'm going for 4-2 to Leeds. So yeah, That's what I think. But thanks very much to my guests tonight, Stephen Brown, Jason Booker, Callum Scott, and Zach Wood. Thanks very much, lads. And let the best team win on Saturday. And remember, we're all from West Yorkshire. We can all be friends afterwards. So let's not see any trouble. All right. See you later. And thanks very much. See you later.
Thank you.